Okay, stay with me here because unlike Mr. Buddy's videos, I won't be showing you just a few new Pokemon, I'll be showing you the entire Pokedex.
Oh no, Askos was 5 years ago. I'm officially old. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. My name is Dreamer and welcome. As I just said, for around 5 years now, I've been exploring various ideas related to a Fakemon region of mine, and now I wish to revitalize that old region instead of a new video series. It's a project I'd like to dub Pokemon Lavender. Here's a little bit of backstory before we start. This project is very close to my heart, as I started it when I was around 15? That's grade 9 for you Americans. Anyway, the moment I really decided to develop the concept into something bigger was when I saw one of Mr. Buddy's videos, and it inspired me to make all these videos you see here, creating a broad universe I call the Askosverse. Wait, Askos? Oh yeah, this region I'm going to be talking about is called Askos. It's based on the country of Romania, which is going to be very relevant within this video and the ones following it. So, with no further ado—
Sorry, coming through!
Wait.
Let the real Pokemon professor educate you!
Ow, that hurt.
Hi guys, my name is Professor Hazel Askos, the resident Pokemon professor of Askos. Yeah, I know that's a bit confusing. You see, the region is actually named after my dad, Trent Askos. He's kind of the president. Anyway, I'd like to welcome you myself to our beautiful region by introducing the Pokemon that inhabit it.
Okay, you seem to know what you're doing. Take it away, Hazel.
Let's start with the starter Pokemon. Pteroseed, the limestone Pokemon, a grass type. It can break open even the toughest of nuts using its spiked tail. Data suggests that Pteroseed has existed for millions of years, making it a living fossil.
It's based off how some fossils of dinosaurs have been found encased in limestone. Its name comes from pterodactyl and seed.
Hey, I never said you could talk. But speaking of fossils, Pteroseed actually gains the rock type upon evolving into Calcifrond, the fossil Pokemon. The crystals that naturally fall off this Pokemon's tail can be refined into the strongest glass known to man. It's sturdy and hard-hitting, but afraid of the rain.
That guy's name comes from calcite, a mineral limestone contains, and frond, like the leaf of a palm tree.
Palm tree? That reminds me of my colleague, Professor Palm.
Uh-huh. I'm sure he's familiar to some of you watching.
Anyway, Calcifrond evolves into Nazsilica, the cavern Pokemon, in its final stage. Nazsilica's favorite pastime is harvesting trees for their berries, delivering strong kicks to shake them down. It can use its reflective body as an advantage, blinding any oncoming attacker with light.
It also has a signature move, Refract, a rock-type status move. It sets up a barrier that reflects all status moves to 5 turns, similar to Magic Bounce, but more temporary. Its name comes from Nazgul, people who ride some sort of winged pterosaur that features in the Lord of the Rings, and silica, another kind of mineral within limestone.
What's the Lord of the Rings?
It doesn't exist in your universe, don't worry about it.
Moving on, Ignirrel, the fire squirrel Pokemon, a fire and flying type. This Pokemon loves to perform stunts and test its tenacity, and it loves to show off. Jumping from tree to tree is an activity it's especially fond of.
It's based off flying squirrels, but also stuntmen. And whilst we're here, I should mention that the starters here all have a theme: past versus present versus future. Pteroseed represented past, and Ignirrel represents future.
Ignirrel's name comes from ignite and squirrel.
Hey, etymology is my job. You keep reading the decks.
Fine. Ignirrel evolves into Glidare, the acrobat Pokemon. Rushing through the treetops, Glidare is seemingly always in a hurry. Its body is built to be aerodynamic, and once a Glidare starts running, it will not rest for hours.
That name comes from glide and dare.
And finally, Glidare evolves into Derarevi, the daredevil Pokemon. Derarevi seeks the attention of other Pokemon before it performs stunts for the gathered crowd. Despite its ego, it is caring towards other smaller Pokemon, defending them against predators.
It's a bit of a show-off, innit? Its signature move, Soaring Strike, uses the user's speed stat during damage calculation instead of special attack. Derarevi's name is a play on the phrase, "Are you ready?" combined with daredevil and rev, like a car.
Say, how do you know all this stuff? And who even are you?
Weren't you listening to the intro?
Did your voice just change?
Says you. You sound like me trying to do a poor American accent.
What's America?
Can we move on to the next starter?
Okay, Rebanewt, the tadpole Pokemon, a water type. It is small, but don't underestimate it. It remains active all hours of the day, swimming against strong currents in order to gain enough muscle to evolve.
This one is based off the Carpathian newt, and represents the present. Its name comes from rebel, and you guessed it,
Rebanewt. Speaking of those muscles, Rebanewt gains the fighting type when it evolves into Vivimarsh, the tough Pokemon. The crest on its head is a source of pride. The bigger the crest, the stronger this Pokemon will be. Fierce fights will often break out between rival Vivimarsh. That name comes from vivid, like its crest, and marsh, the environment it lives in. And that fighting type fills out a secondary type triangle. Huh, I never noticed that. Vivimarsh evolves into Moncrest, the brawler Pokemon. Using its newfound strength, it hunts for its favorite food, Toxapex. Many Cursula will gift Moncrest with pieces of coral as a token of gratitude, adorning itself with said corals. Despite its intimidating nature, it's actually quite the sweetheart. Its signature move, Crested Blow, always lands a crit if the Pokemon moves last, and the move itself has decreased priority. Moncrest's name comes from monster and crest. Moving on from the starters now, let's start with some Pokemon you'll probably find early on during your journey, such as Camouse, the rodent Pokemon, a normal type. Its DNA is said to be a mutation between normal and Rattata. It is rumored to be a long-lost relative of Eevee, due to its adaptability to any environment. This is based off the concept of a Chimera, though in this case, the Chimera consists of a camel and a mouse, hence the name. And speaking of Chimeras, Camouse evolves into Calmera, the Chimera Pokemon, a normal and fighting type. Though the tail looks like an Ekans, it's nothing but an illusion. It rams opponents with its horns and finishes them off with a powerful blow from its tail. Again, a simple name. It comes from both camel and chimera. Some more animal parts have been added, namely parts of the dragon and goat DNA, as well as the classic snake tail the more mythical chimeras have. Seriously though, you didn't answer my question. Who are you? I'm J-Dreamer, obviously. Let's move on to Grizpaw, the brown paw Pokemon, a dark type. Grizpaw is widely used by trainers who are still starting out, due to its cute disposition and friendliness. Apparently Grizpaw can be taught to dance on its hind legs. This guy is based off Romanian brown bears, and the arts of the Usari, a group of bear tamers amongst the Romani. This won't be the only time we'll be talking about the Romani people, and I'd really like to share some other things from their culture that inspired this new dex. We have a group like that. They're the last remainders of the Amur region. That's what Askos used to be called before my dad changed the region's name. Anyway, Grizpaw's name comes from Grizzly, a nickname for brown bears, and Paw. And Grizpaw evolves into Polarktos, the constellation Pokemon, a dark and psychic type. Its pelt is said to exactly parallel the night sky at any given moment. It draws its powers from the stars and uses them to protect its family. This guy takes some inspiration from the Ursa Major, a constellation shaped like a bear. Its name comes from Polaris, the brightest star in said constellation, and Octos, part of the scientific name for Romanian brown bears. Let's talk about the regional bugs now. Threadel, the needle Pokemon, a bug type. It sews interlocking webs that can span for miles, creating beautiful patterns that many human artists have taken inspiration from. My mother is actually one of those artists. She's a popular seamstress and even has her own gym. I'm sure you'll be meeting her at some point. Threadel right now is just a silkworm with a needle as a tail, and its name comes from Fred and needle. Threadel evolves into Clothyrm, the woven Pokemon. It is cased within a cocoon of pure silk. Greedy trainers that try to harvest its silk end up covered in sticky webbing that takes days to wash off. I would know, I had a bad run-in with my mother's silkworm once. Clothyrm's name comes from cloth and worm, though not the type of worm you're probably thinking of right now. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see— Oh! Silwyrm, the silk dragon Pokemon, a bug and fairy type. It flies through the forest upon the spring winds, blessing the flora with many beneficial nutrients that it sheds from its scales. It's not just a silkworm, it's now a worm, a type of dragon. The fairy type represents the silk it secretes, especially through its signature move Cocoon Crash, a bug type Draco Meteor. It also gets a new ability, Iridescent, which acts like Intimidate but for special attack. Silwyrm's name comes from silk and worm, as in the dragon. Our other regional bug is one of my favorite things, a regional variant! Say hello to Asconian Caterpie, the glowbug Pokemon, a bug and fire type. During the time of the Amur region, Caterpie developed a glow sac in order to breathe underground. Touching its tail is ill-advised, it's burning hot. The Amur region wasn't a very nice place, you see. It used to be covered in darkness and ruled over by this terrible king called King Blake Latimer. I'm sure they'll hear the story, Hazel. Asconian Caterpie is based off fireflies. There was actually a similar Pokemon to this in the old dex called Varaprite, but the inspiration has been moved onto a regional form. Caterpie itself is actually a caterpillar, but now it's a glowworm. It evolves into Metapod, the flicker Pokemon. The inside of Metapod's shell is warm and temperate, and it stores heat in preparation for the cold winters. Then it evolves into Butterfree, the Inferno Pokemon. At night, Butterfree can be spotted creating amazing light shows as they dance and sing as part of their mating ritual. They are rarely seen during the day as their eyes are sensitive to sunlight. Say, Jay, you've gone quiet. Don't you have anything to say about the regional variants?
Oh yeah, Asconia Butterfree has a signature move, Flickerfluff, a fire-type version of Pollenpuff that has a chance to burn.
Let's move back onto some pure-bred Askos Pokemon, like Oriolive, the olive Pokemon, a grass and flying type. Tiny and apathetic, this Pokemon will do anything but fight. It is much more interested in preening itself and collecting twigs, the latter for an unknown reason.
Isn't it for building nests?
You'd think that, but no, they just sometimes randomly carry twigs around.
Alright then. Oriolive is based off the golden Oriole, but also doves, and especially the imagery of a dove carrying an olive branch. Its name comes from Oriole and olive. There's actually another Oriole Pokemon coming up, but it has a completely different design. In fact, it may be a design you've seen before.
Oh, I can't wait. And Oriolive evolves into Olearine, the olive branch Pokemon. It is always seen carrying a twig in its mouth. Olive trees are their favorite. An Olearine over the ocean is said to be a symbol of peace.
That name comes from Oriole and Passerine, the family that Orioles are part of. Funnily enough, jays are also passerine birds.
Then finally, Olearine evolves into Aurora, the golden Pokemon. After finishing its nest, old primal instincts awaken, turning Olearine into Aurora. It will defend its new nest with its life, delivering powerful kicks that can fell trees in one blow.
This one is more based upon the theory that modern birds are the closest descendants of dinosaurs. Its name comes from Or, which is Romanian for gold, Royal, and Corella, a type of cockatoo.
Let's talk about more regional variants. Asconia Woobat, the sparkle Pokemon, an electric and flying type. A dormant electrical organ awoken within Woobat, creating this Pokemon. It fizzes and sparks similar to a firework to defend itself from predators.
The basis for this one is also pretty simple. It's based off sparklers and fireworks, things that are sure to woo an onlooking audience.
And then it evolves into Swoobat, the firework Pokemon. The electrical power of this Pokemon has made it gain a unique purpose. Many houses will employ a Swoobat to act as a lightning rod. When struck by lightning, it will burst out into a colourful splay of sparks.
Nothing to say again, Jay? Nothing much besides from I removed the old fairy type from this guy. Next Pokemon.
Okay. Agralop, the trainee Pokemon, a fighting type. Finicky and aggressive, Agralop will fight anything within sight in order to quell its burning hatred. It's said that a long time ago this Pokemon was bullied and began training to defend itself, becoming aggressive itself in the process.
This guy is based off both a jackrabbit, which is native to Romania, and a lop rabbit, hence the floppy ears. It also takes inspiration from boxing. Its name comes from aggressive and lop.
But if you show Agralop enough kindness, it'll evolve into Rebrake, the delinquent Pokemon. Now evolved, Rebrake is more level-headed, and it usually holds back during fights. It only truly lets loose when under the care of a trainer it respects.
That name comes from rabbit and break, the thing it'll probably do to your bones.
Ow! Moving on. Lectric, the stinger Pokemon, a water and electric type. Its stings are charged with electricity, but are rather weak, causing a tickling sensation in humans. It's said that Lectric can extend its tentacles to almost a meter long.
Lectric also gets a signature move, the aptly named Stinger, an electric-type move that can hit ground types. It's based off the stinging qualities of many jellyfish, which is translated into the electric typing. Its name comes from Lecky, a slang term for electric, and the actual word electric.
It evolves into Eleckraken, the voltage Pokemon. Attacking with all 13 of its tentacles, this beast of a Pokemon has as much electrical power as a power plant. Due to this, the best thing to do when encountering this Pokemon in the wild is to run. Very far away.
It's now based off the mythical Kraken, and its 13 tentacles are an unlucky number. Its name simply comes from electric and Kraken.
Next is Swinguppy, the guppy Pokemon, a water type. It starts out small and pathetic, only being able to do the weakest of attacks. Sometimes it cries.
Poor thing. It's based off a guppy, obviously, but as it evolves, it's actually going to become a sturgeon. The name comes from swim, swindle, as in to deceive and steal, and guppy.
It evolves into Stedart, the dart Pokemon. Faster and more aerodynamic, Stedart is able to travel up waterfalls with ease, creating quite a splash while doing so.
That piece of trivia is actually based upon salmon. Stedart's name comes from steadfast, meaning unwavering, and dart, as in a fast motion.
Finally, it evolves into Sturgalon, the steadfast Pokemon. Its roe is said to be the most delicious thing on Earth, but obtaining it is only possible if a Sturgalon has a very close bond with the humans taking care of it.
Sturgalon is a sturgeon, obviously, but it's also based off caviar, what sturgeon roe is usually turned into. Its name comes from sturgeon, stern, gallon, as in a measurement of liquid, and galleon, a type of ship.
Wow, that's a lot. Now for our Pika clone, Rodynamo, the motor Pokemon, an electric and ground type. It digs deep into the ground, gathering electrical energy in its cheek sacs until the time is right. When it strikes, the dynamo on its tail spins rapidly, generating even more energy.
Dynamo has a signature ability too, Dynamo, which causes its speed to raise upon using an electric move that makes contact. It's based on a mongoose, a type of desert-dwelling rodent, and dynamos, a type of electrical generator. Its name comes from rodent and dynamo. Now, that's unfortunately all we have time for today.
Aw, really?
Yep, but if you wish to see more of the new Askos Pokedex, look out for next week's episode, Askos Regional Variants.
Oh, exciting! I can't wait to talk more about variants!
You'll have to wait, Hazel. Well, until then, I've been J-Dreamer,
and I'm Professor Hazel.
And thanks for watching! It's all about the challenges, it's a brand new game and a brand new world, new rivals. As you fight for survival, never can stop you, Diamond and Pearl. Pokemon, it's all about the battles, you gotta play smart, you gotta move faster. Behind every win, there's a chance to begin again. You gotta take it all if you wanna be a master.